Yo, 420 Kids Live direct in effect. It's going down Oklahoma City bound. We got a special guest tonight, Sir BJ. What's happening?
What's up, my guy?
Man, chilling, man. Can you hear me?
Is he real? I'm clear.
Oh, okay.
I hear you real good.
Hey,
I hear you.
in tonight's episode, we're talking about gang violence in America and how we can get control of our community. How can we curb the violence? You know, tell me, I'm gonna bring y'all this little short video clip real quick, give y'all some insight on tonight's episode.
I generally talk to just general people about raising awareness of youth violence and gun crime and knife crime. And people say, yeah, but it's not really me, it's those types of young people or it's them. And in the back of my head, I'm getting a little bit angry, but frustration, but smiling at the same time. And I'm saying, yeah, but it is our problem. Until it happens to your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, your husband, your wife, your partner, your neighbor, your colleague. And the image that is before you are young people from inner city Birmingham, under the age of 21, in the last 3 years that have lost their lives to violence. I could show you another 2 slides of young people in the last 3 years that have lost their lives to knives, to guns. Wrong place, wrong time at a party, having fun. Something happens, sitting on a school bus, something happens, and they lose their life. But why I showed you this image is, these young people were not criminals. These young people were not gang members, because I know when the media talk about violence, you always think, oh, it's just gang related. But that wasn't the case.
Oh man, give me a little insight about that, Sir BJ, man. What you think about that passage or about former experiences? Mic check, I can't hear you. I can't hear nothing you saying. I can't hear you.
Okay.
Mic check. Okay, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Mike.
Okay.
For a minute. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't hear the patch. I didn't get a chance to hear the patches.
Oh, okay. But he's talking about basically gang violence in the UK, and basically talking about how most of it, people just automatically think gang violence, people getting killed, they'll automatically demonize it as being gang violence, and it's not most of the case. People, a lot of the innocent bystanders that's getting killed aren't necessarily practitioners of gang violence, but they might be victims of gang violence, and that's not the case all the time. Let's play the passage one more time.
I generally talk to just general people about raising awareness of youth violence and gun crime and knife crime. And people say, yeah, but it's not really me, it's those types of young people or it's them. And in the back of my head, I'm getting a little bit angry, but frustration, but smiling at the same time. And I'm saying, yeah, but it is our problem. Until it happens to your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, your husband, your wife, your partner, your neighbor, your colleague. And the image that is before you are young people from inner city Birmingham, under the age of 21, in the last 3 years that have lost their lives to violence. I could show you another 2 slides of young people in the last 3 years that have lost their lives to knives, to guns. Wrong place, wrong time at a party, having fun. Something happens, sitting on a school bus, something happens, and they lose their life. But why I showed you this image is, these young people were not criminals. These young people were not gang members, because I know when the media talk about violence, you always think, oh, it's just gang related. But that wasn't the case.
And what I asked you was to give a little insight about that, because most of the time when you hear about people getting killed, it's demonized as gang violence. But just as we can say, most of the time that's not the case. You got innocent bystanders and people who aren't criminals, but they get criminalized and demonized. Give me a little insight on that passage.
I mean, what I took from that is that he was pretty much saying that every time something happens, it's not necessarily gang violence. Well, that's true over in America too. A lot of things that happen in the sense is that everybody, one of the biggest gifts from God is the freedom to make your own decisions. You know what I mean? Sometimes people, they don't have to be fooled about behind gang violence. It's violent spirit. You know, it can be their origin, how they grow up. I know people that's downright evil. You hear me? And don't have ties to a gang. It just depends on the origin of a person. You hear me? And the upbringing, and sometimes the impulse. And a lot of people that have done violent acts, they don't have a history of it. Didn't grow up in the inner city violence. Didn't have a background like that. It just depends. Sometimes it's an individual thing. You hear me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. How do you think that we can curb gang violence in America? Do you think we can get rid of it? Do you think it's a problem? Do you think it's one of the biggest problems in the community? What do you think personally is the biggest problem in the African American community?
See, if we buy from the gang aspect,
just your personal perception.
When we go back to the origin of gangs, you hear me? If we don't put it on a blood and crip thing or keep it in the black community, every race, every culture got their own little form of gang. You know, whether it be the mafia, whether it be the IRA or any type of allegiance that you in some forms in some parts of the state. Some hear me?
Yeah. Real shit.
In some parts of the state, religious groups are considered a form of gang. You hear me? So
absolutely,
it really just depends on what you call yourself. You know what I'm saying? Something by any other name don't necessarily mean it not be what it is. You hear me? So
absolutely, man.
I also
go ahead.
Got to do with the origin. They got to do with the origin. Now it depends on where you at, what exposure you have, and the reason why you running with this group. Because some reasons, I mean, it's different. When you get past the blood and crip form, it's different types of gang, different types of perception of what they consider themselves and what their angle and what they're headed towards. Besides just personal gang violence, because you got the blood and crip thing, you got personal violence just because of histories of your hood not getting into each other. When you got this new shit, these new clique shit, and all this old war Nazis and shit like that, I tell them what a gang or what somebody be being into them. That YSL and that Gucci shit. That's some whole other shit too. You know? So I think along the line, the whole origin of the gang, what's a gang, the whole concept of what you might think a gang, that done changed a whole lot.
Yeah. See, fraternal organizations like gangs, where you have parliamentary laws, you have colors, you have handshakes, you have rules and regulations. You hear me? Duties and responsibilities. Religious indoctrination. Christianity is considered a fraternal organization. Will often be considered a gang. Islam is different sets, it's different. So the gang violence, man. I've been in the cell finna kill. We damn near on some high power BS over some religion. You hear me?
Yeah.
Because we can't see eye to eye religion, you know. So like you said, it's most of the time it's the individual, it's the thinking patterns. And
I agree.
Like I say, everything it takes its course, man. And whether you're in the suburbs or the ghetto, it's the indoctrination being pushed in America as gang violence. You know what I mean? Could be a little clique. It could be a clique. Yeah. You got set motherfuckers from different gangs. You heard clicking up. He might be a hustler. He might be a blood. They done formed their own little clique. You hear me? A little street clique. You know what I mean? So the biggest thing I think that's plaguing the community is our lack of accessibility to currency. You hear me? So we
Yeah.
have to find alternative means to accumulate currency because of the systematic planned annihilation. Tell me about it. You was finna say something, no?
I mean, when you it also everybody exposure to games and the perception of it is different.
Yeah.
You know, just like war, when America go to war, it somebody got to finance it, and if whoever on the winning end or on the manufacturing end, it's a lucrative thing. You hear me?
Absolutely.
Even in any neighborhood, you got the die-hard gang members that's true to the set, and they're very territorial about this neighborhood. You hear me? And the money aspect don't really come into play, and them they really been brainwashed to a certain extent. Depends on the reasons why they chose to be from the set. Then you got the ones that like the fact of being a part of something. You hear me? And it's the communal thing, and they embrace it. You hear me? Exactly.
Yeah.
And it don't necessarily got to be from a lack of a daddy, lack of a nut. It's just a belonging thing. Sometimes I know people with full-fledged family, good family, they doing the right thing, and just that and the good. You hear me? So it really ain't gonna be an excuse for that. The facade about I didn't have no daddy, no big brother, nobody. That's some bullshit. It depends on the person. You hear me? Then you got the ones that behind the scenes talking about this is how we pay for it. Because once the people in the neighborhood realize that whoever gang it is control the vice over here, control the money. It's a lot of people that got beyond that about the game, and they care about this how we pay for it. These categories of gang members. It's the ones like you said, like in the military. It's the soldiers at front line. You hear me? And their lord to whatever the fuck the train is telling. It's the ones like the generals. You hear me? And they pass the orders, whatever. And
you breaking up. You breaking up. You breaking up
okay.
Real bad. You breaking up
okay,
real bad.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah. I say like say for instance in the I believe just like in the military, it's different levels like lieutenants and capos and sergeants and shit like that. In the gang community, you got the soldiers, then you got the lieutenant and the capos who in a situation where they let their word be able to flex a little more power, and then you got the people behind the scenes telling you this how we pay for it. The kingpins or the OGs or whatever you want to call them from your hood. You hear me? But somebody got to pay for it. Gang banging is expensive nowadays. You hear me? Even from whoever control their gang, control the vices in the neighborhood. So,
hey, that's why I be telling motherfuckers. So that's how people can't understand how the motherfuckers in the suburbs be gang banging because they got more money. With that statement you just said, motherfuckers who control the vices, they control them all. You feed motherfuckers. Yeah, hey, you pushing pawns. So most of the time, people have the money to destroy themselves. They have more money. They have the accessibility to destroy themselves.
So I'll say that to say, coming back from I'm as far as like actual when I black people been having different forms in every city in the United States for generations to come. But the Bloods and Crips are normally fried from the early 70s. You hear me on there? And for my exposure and listening to my daddy and a lot of things, it always been gang, but it always been motherfuckers around the same time, but that's how to pay for it. And if they use the gang as a way to push their drugs or to do whatever, because every gang that you can name got a long list of kingpins and people that they can name that baby such and such or OG such and such that had all the birds or all the kilos and did this and did that. You hear me? And then when you scratch him on the seat, you hear me? It's a couple other kingpins in that hood that he didn't get along with. You hear me? That they was fighting it, and there was a lot of internal beef. You hear me? So I say from the 70s to now, that it was a little once the killing and things came in place, it became a little more personal. You hear me? And I'm not
over the drugs and territory. Yeah,
exactly. It became a little more personal with the beats and stuff
drugs,
like that.
Man.
But nowadays it's watered down, and it's like changing clothes and fashion. How can we curve it? But the Bloods and Crips thing I think that ain't got more to it. It's just about as many clicks and gangs being formed daily. So I can't see it being a situation. It's an individual thing, because as we go, if you hit YouTube right now, you can find maybe 3 or 4 new gangs that's making the federal radars as we go along. You hear me? Small clicks daily, and then in the same town with Bloods and Crips. You hear me? Some of them, and I say this, like the Blood and Crip origin from where we came from. I'm from California originally. It didn't got to a point where it don't even tickle subsets where guys like say, "Oh, I'm Crip, but I'm from such and such this clique." You hear me? Or I'm Blood, but I'm from such and such this clique. So, or I'm Crip and Blood too, but we from this clique. You hear me? So it ain't got it where the whole origin of the game, it ain't got watered down to so much. It's not. It's like you said, it came into the finances, and if you got enough money, you can buy Stanchel in the game. You hear me? You can come to this neighborhood within a week with enough money to be the man. You hear me? If these people don't got no principles and no origin to begin with anyway. You hear me? Now a lot of the now what I won't do is downplay original gang banging. A lot of gang banging in California off as people go, and it progresses to a lot of personal strong beats, and some of it can be fixed for us, like a lot of loss over the years. You hear me? But for us, when it goes state to state, you put an average gang member, not the average, but the majority of them, if you put them aside and ask them about personal beefs or any type of gang history concerning their neighborhood, they're flabbergasted. You know, so
yeah,
it all starts with the origin. Yeah,
origin. Hey man, with that then let's watch this little video past that saying. Appreciate that insight.
60s, there are a few radical groups more controversial than the Black Panthers.
You, Ronnie, baby.
The Black Panther Party was truly the first in-your-face movement in the history of this country.
Led by the dynamic personalities of Bobby Seale, Huey Newton, and Eldridge Cleaver, the Panthers boldly challenged white America to deliver justice and opportunity.
When the party says power to the people, we ain't diving a pound. We say power to the people.
Our slogan was about all power to all the people. That's what it was about.
Armed with guns, they advocate self-defense.
The police occupy our community as a foreign troop occupies territory.
And, if need be, the violent overthrow of the government.
You sort of had this idea it was this rogue group of out-of-control black people with guns shooting police.
We say, bring it on. If you want war, let there be war.
They are attacked by the FBI and police, turning city streets into battlegrounds.
Message received. To be a member of the Black Panther meant you were a target of the United States government.
It cost people their lives, you know.
But the Black Panthers never backed down.
It was heroes of the black community because they spoke up and said what they had to be said.
These are the counterculture icons who changed the world. In this hour, the Black Panthers, Lords of the Revolution.
Just to go back to some of the inception, and like I said, I was asking you about the question, how can we curve it? Because if we go back to that far, that's in the 60s. You hear me? So they've been playing African American community. Oh, this is the problem. Okay, it's been a problem for 60 years. This is the same problem, and a lot of us is acting like this is new. People shining lights. I'm like, goddamn, they've been talking about this shit, gangs, drugs, and guns with black people for goddamn since the 60s. So they just changing the words. When they was calling us Negroes, then they calling us niggas, then they calling us African Americans, then they calling us blacks. It's just like the game's changed, but the game is still the same. So at the same time, we can get her like her. We like to talk about the rappers, you know, because they talk about gang violence and what's going on in America. You hear me? So my personal opinion, I often think that we like to demonize our youth because these are young adults. Like I say, I believe personally that the gang violence is a reflection of the white supremacy going on in America. You hear me? Because like I say, if you keep a people systematically locked out, they will find alternative means to survive. You hear me? And oftentimes the people that got out the Shark Tank, you hear me? They live around, they live in better neighborhoods than the ghettos. They often demonize motherfuckers that's in the ghettos or poor people. You hear me? And oftentimes, like I say, every time people gets killed or blacks get killed in the community, it's often demonized as gangs. And most of the time, that's not the case. You got fathers killing, the mothers, the kids. It's all type of mental health going on right now. But when the gangs kill each other, it's not mental health. You know what I mean? Like the motherfucker with the Parkland shooting, who went to that high school, shot up 17 motherfuckers. It's mental health. You hear me? It's like I said. So me personally, I don't think we can control it because we're not controlling the violence. You hear me? We're not making the guns. We're not making the drugs. Like you said, the motherfucker with the money can come in any ghetto. They got all the drugs and they got all the guns. This is why they're masters, so they can come in and do this. Heard what they say? They give us guns and drugs. Then wonder why in the fuck we thug shit. They want to count the slugs and then come around here fucking with us. You know what I mean? So I believe these situations are being exploited, created because of the lack of accessibility. And I believe the youth is often, they actually going through the African-American horror story, when you ain't doing nothing, when you just get demonized, when you see the police and he looking like a wolf, you hear me? You shaking like a stripper and you ain't doing nothing wrong. You hear me? Mic check. Can you hear me? But like I said, gang violence in America and how we can get control of our community. My personal opinion is we can't get control of our community because we don't have control of our community. We don't control any of the resources flowing in our community. Let's use the black hair, for example, which is 100% controlled by the Asians, which 100% of the money come from African-American females. We don't own not a mere percentage of this. You hear me? Because we don't have control of we don't have control of what we're thinking. We're not controlling what our kids learn. Because contrary to popular opinion, you are not the educator of your child. We spend too much. Motherfucking parents is working. You sleep 8 hours out the day, you go to work 8 hours out the day. That's 16 hours gone already. And then the kid is at the school during that 8 hours. So when are we actually teaching our kids? Our kids are learning from these institutions, like these religious indoctrinations, like these educational indoctrinations, as well as these monetary indoctrinations. So this is how we get information through the education institution, the monetary institution, as well as the religious institutions. So we're programmed to be whatever set or fraternal organization or whatever gang. They playing word games. Goddamn janitor, custodian, undertaker, mortician. It's the same thing. So the division, these are war tactics in our community. Like I said, we don't own any of the houses. We're not controlling what our kids learn in school, but yet we're blaming the kids for what's going on in the community. And that's very troublesome to me, that we're blaming our youth like that. And like I say, we got problems we got to clean up in our community. This is, of course, but goddamn it, just as much as we standing strong to our kids, saying enough is enough, as so should we do to this white supremacist indoctrination and this systematic plan to stand oppression. Chastise these motherfuckers like we chastising our kids about that shit, then we can get some fucking respect, and then we'll start getting some fucking word. But this get along, go along game, these motherfuckers is playing this white face shit. They just painting, they paint goddamn paste on their fucking paint on their face to fit in around these motherfuckers. Hey man, it's a culture shock, man. You hear me? It's a culture shock, and we got to see value in people. If all we see is black on black crime, you hear me, on the news, every time somebody get killed, it's gonna get demonized with it being gang violence. You hear me? Man, most of the time that's not the case.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Now, my question is to you: when's the last time you seen a community?
Saying the what?
When's the last time you seen a community?
Say it again. Committee?
When's the last time you seen a community? Yeah, when the last time you seen one?
Ah, man, like I say, shit, it's too much division. It's really not a black community. That's why I keep telling you. It's not no such thing as a black dollar. It is though, but it's not running through our hands. We spending it all, we giving it all to everybody else. Let's look at the east side. How many of those convenience stores is black owned? We got one black owned convenience store out of 30 on the east side. We don't see nothing the matter with that.
See, but let's talk about the black dollar. Listen, we rather go spend our money with the race because we in our mind we believe off top, and we're taught not to trust each other. You hear me? And for when you get when you get a black person or a person that actually get a store or something like that, his prices or his logic towards business be so indifferent towards how we used to dealing with these Mexican white people. We naturally feel like he beating us. You hear me? And he don't be in a situation sometimes to sell this soda for a dollar like the Mexican or Chinese because we don't put ourselves in situations
better
to get better
position financing. Yeah,
exactly. So when a guy got a store open, you hear me? And this talking about personal experience, you hear me? It's rare that you get a black person that's got a store that went to the proper channels to get the proper vendors, you hear me? And have the current things that people want in his store where he can be competitive. You hear me? If so,
especially with the mentality we got, we think we're gonna get ripped off by each other.
Exactly. So
that he got it. He gotta sell it more for more. Shit. We running away, spending it with everybody else.
Exactly. And my thing is to really know this experience, and we're in Oklahoma City at this time. And you're a traveling man. I'm also a traveling man. You got to go to other places, other cities, other states, and when you hit their ghetto, sometimes you see that black man making it, or you see that chicken mom and pop chicken spot, and it's booming, and you don't see a white face with just as people patronize him. You hear me? But you go to Oak Cliff and certain places, and it's black owned and black because the people in a situation where he's there for years and he know he life for treatment. You hear me? And he still got the conditional credit going in the store. And even if he ain't making too much money, he believe in karma's in his hood right here. You hear me? And because people don't understand that those stores in the neighborhood, they only do as good as we patronize. You hear me? So if you see that black store down the street, you hear me, and you run into the Mexicans and you see the Caucasians, you see they store booming, you can't see and you can't fathom how this man think, you hear me, or how he feel his business, or how his perspective of his business is now. You hear me? And it just and it's hard to say. When they come to them, they just put themselves in a situation where they support their own, meaning that the things that they may need, they can go get it at the store and then get it at the end of the money, and they'll take the time to keep their shelves stocked accordingly to whatever the environment is want. You hear me? You might go to this other store and want a Coke, and they don't got Coke, they got Pepsi. You hear me? And this is what it is. And you might tell them the difference. You hear me? And I don't want to get in detail about certain stores by name, but especially to the east side, we can name a handful of black stores that were black owned. You hear me? And they were terrible. And when the Hispanics got them and the whites got them, they booming now. They got the hot food and everything, and you got the niggas running in and out of there. And I remember Texas had that store a minute ago. You hear me? And the only thing it took for him to do is to stay down and invest in that business. You hear me? A couple of them. You hear me? A couple of businesses. You hear me? And it's just facts. You hear me?
We got to start mandatory. We got to start setting statutes amongst each other where it's mandatory that we circulate the money amongst each other. You hear me? Because if we don't, we're going to keep talking about gang violence in America. You hear me? We're gonna keep talking about how we can get control of our community. Because, like I said, they've been playing this game since the 60s. It was a self-love thing going on in the 60s. You see, motherfuckers had afros, the women had afros, motherfuckers had bread, you know what I'm saying? We wasn't straightening our hair, trying to be in their image. Then they come in with the drugs, and then the technology, you hear me? Now it's this, we got the men wearing perms, the women wearing perms, you hear me? We got white images of beauty, you hear me? We fucked up now. So all that plays into the culture. So if we see us in the store, we don't want to go there. We want to go to the white store. Well, we want to go to the Asian store. That's why I always talk about this her, because this is 100% African American women that we spending with these mothers. That's billions every year that we just giving away. You hear me? As smart as our sisters is, you hear me? They running corporate America. Why can't they come together to be like, hey man, we finna take this shit in the chokehold? It's because of the mentality. You know what I mean? That's the more thing about the gang violence.
And people don't understand is that I don't care what race you are. You hear me? Everyone, unless you got that high dollar, you don't care. Everyone wants to feel like they're getting a deal, or they're getting the best for their money. You hear me? And and me personally, in my is this the African American man, not all, a lot of them, when they get businesses or they get in a situation where they can curate karmas, they just don't stock and don't seek out to keep it for longevity where they be competitive. And I don't care who you are, you hear me? It's just common sense to anybody. If you setting this, and I don't care if it's a pack of Swisher Sweet cigarettos, you hear me? If you setting yours for $1.29 and they 99 cents down the street, it's just gonna go like that. You hear me? You can be mad all you want to something, they're gonna spend their money with you.
Yeah, they're gonna go get the cheap price.
Gotta be in a situation you can be better. And my thing is, if they're thinking about whether or not they can save their money that they work for, are they wrong? Hell no. You hear me? You gotta put yourself in a situation. If you want to do business, you gotta come out punching like they punch. You hear me? Hell, you gotta come out punching. If it's not, because nowadays it's quality matters, you hear me? And you can have a good product, you hear me? But if you're not trying to be price competitive, you're gonna sit on that shit. You hear me? And that's just like, you hear me? Yeah, and then you get when you get a chance to give a presentation, you hear me? Maybe sometimes you can enlighten people on your product, you hear me? Some people might like your thing, you know, you might get a handful of your customer service, you hear me? But if this person right here, he ain't gotta have no customers, are you gonna say yes, no, buy this 50 cents, and the store gonna roll wide because he got something people can use at a better price, you hear me? And when today, I'm talking about for his homegrown business, if you open one up and you're in a situation where you're selling something that people like, if you're not in the competitive price, if you only way you can corner the market if you're the only one with that certain thing, you hear me? The day someone else open up with the same thing, you're in trouble. And you have somebody that will make no money. You got to make it to where you can get this to the public and be lucrative and keep it where it's going. Yeah, and if you don't, and if it's not a situation where you can make people feel like they're getting a bang for their buck, I don't care if you're selling hot dogs. You hear me? You're gonna have people invest the quality of your hot dogs. They gotta learn the love of BJ or dirt hot dogs. You know what I'm talking about? As a personal commodity. Other than that, it's just a hot dog.
And
if this one's going for $1, and you talking about $1.25, that dollar gonna boom all day long.
Real shit. Hey, and another thing, he's supposed to say it like that. We're supposed to give y'all different perceptions to see it from different, because we're a diverse community. Just like that, the Jews teach financial literacy. You hear me? We got to start teaching financial literacy to each other. You hear me? Because we got to keep the money. We got to keep the money circulating between us, man. You hear me? If possible, we have to do that, because if we continue to water everybody else's garden, except our garden. You hear me? We making everybody else. We making everybody else garden pretty. We giving it the sunlight, the water, and we neglecting our shit. Our shit got the weeds and all that shit in there. You hear me? Because we spending our money with every fucking body else. And that's
to our audience. And to our audience, we on 420 Kids, and I'm speaking direct. Excuse my derogatory how can I say it? Example of different races. No pun intended. You know. We can be PC. I can say Caucasian. I can say Latino. Hear me? But if we gonna say niggas over here or black, we want to call it. We gonna keep it 100. You hear me?
They say nigga more than us. Goddamn. Let's keep it $1. They say nigga more than us.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah. Shit.
But,
real shit.
It's like you said. It's about us. First, we got to get rid of fear, patronizing each other. You hear me?
Yeah.
And listen, I can't even just say it's so fucked up where we done got brainwashed even when it comes to illicit activities. You hear me? A motherfucker feel more comfortable, how can I say, buying some dope from a Hispanic than a black man, because over the years that you hear the way and my amigo and the plug, what they're gonna say is that real drug dealers in the 80s, all this shit is new to them. You hear me? When I was growing up, it wasn't no motherfucking essay. It wasn't no motherfucking black people, niggas that I knew, they did directly with the Colombians. They directly with motherfuckers. And people didn't have to deal with no, a Mexican one, a Hispanic didn't have nothing going back then like people thought. You hear me? They really jump off in the trade where they were able to intermix with black people till the 90s. Why the fuck you hear the Rick Rosses and all that type of shit? That's the 80s. That ain't the 70s. I ain't never seen a Mexican serve no birds in my life till here now. You hear me? I never seen this. And if you know how it came, they didn't take over the drug trade from the Colombians till mid 80s. You hear me? And before that, it was a muling position. You hear me? Where you take this to here type of situation. You hear me? But over the years, they didn't progress to the point where they
making
so much. Exactly. Somebody buy an ounce of dope on black motherfucker, and it probably be some of the best shit ever. But if it's that Hispanic don't speak English, he feel more comfortable getting it from him because that's what he been taught. You hear me? So,
and that's
just like with in the legal shit, motherfucker gonna follow. Sometimes it's not what people think or what they hear or what they've been told. You hear me? So
just like we're doing in the convenience stores. We're going straight to the other motherfucker. We're going to the white people. We're going to the herbs. Let's go count the convenience stores in our neighborhood and see how many is black owned. This shit is pitiful. You hear me? It should be shameful. We're spending all that goddamn money with these people. Yeah, that's that same shit.
We got way more comfortable over the years. We just feel like that. We have a lack of trust of business with our race. You hear me? And that's the point break we just have. And listen, over the years, over being fucked and fitting a distrust towards one another, period, we have fucked over a lot of each other in business. You hear me? But when it comes to that, you know, even especially in the record in the music industry, in the mid 90s, 80s, them contracts is bogus. You hear me? Really fucked over. You hear me? A lot of those early first stream rappers never seen $1 million. You hear me? And now, like, I see that interview with Method Man maybe about a month ago. He said, I can't believe how these little babies and all these guys, $1 million, $20 million. He said, we never fathomed type of money like that. You hear me? A nigga got to do them and these niggas with platinum and gold albums. You hear me? But then they had to do like 20, 30 shows a year. Just see 100,000. You hear me? Yeah. So the game has changed a whole lot. You hear me? But it's just so much distrust of the opposite race is that it's crazy. You hear me?
And they brag about us paying 4 times overpriced. The biggest African Americans are the biggest consumers on the planet. You hear me? That means we buy everything at retail, not at the investment stage or the production stage or the distribution stage. We at the consumer stage. You hear me? So that's very imperative. Well, because our money ain't circulating. We're not spending it with each other. So we got to invest. The first part of the word is invest. You know what I mean? So we got to keep that shit circulating between us. So like I said, if that don't happen.
Talk about that. Yeah. But when they talk about that, they talking about all the shit that rappers and GQ magazine, Jet magazine, Ebony, YouTube, Instagram, Kevin Gates page, Lil Baby's page, all those shit that they selling, from the Gucci to Versace to the Mary Jeans to Balenciaga, that's the shit. Ain't no niggas manufacturing that, and ain't no niggas got that. And nowadays, if you don't got no Balenciaga, no Mary Jeans, no Trues, no any of that bullshit, you ain't talking about nothing. You hear me? So the days of niggas, that's what they talk about, the Black Dollar. You ain't got a nigga in the hood selling none of that shit. And if you got a nigga with some I can name a gang of personal fashion that people coming out with some nice shit. You hear me? But they are stagnant because it don't say Balenciaga. Ain't no rapper.
Yeah. We don't see
ain't no rapper in on.
We make that shit hot. We make that shit hot, and then we won't create our own. We won't brand ourselves. You hear me?
Hell no.
What the fuck type of shit is that? That's the wrong fucking mentality. We brand our fucking self.
Yeah, have these rappers that got their own, and sort of their own record, their own clothing line, and it's very few of them push through with. You hear me? Bootsy started his own shit. You don't hear about the Jewel House, none of that shit no more. All these niggas do is rock the next nigga shit. Kanye maybe a Jew. I mean,
yeah, real shit. But go ahead. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was making sure I could hear him. What's happening?
What's up, guy? What's good with you?
You know, we on here chopping and popping, man. We talking about this gang violence in America. How can we curb it, or can we get control of it in our community? You know how we. Tell me about it. I checked out y'all show today earlier too.
Yeah, real talk. What up, God? What's good with you? Yeah.
What's up, fam?
So y'all talking about, what's up, God body? What's cracking with you?
What's up, baby? How you doing?
Yeah, man, doing great, man. How about you? How y'all working out there?
Man, pretty good, man. It's one of the days. Keep it going. What you think about the gang violence in America?
Man, as far as gang violence in America, bro, I like to start when we talking about stuff like that. I like to always start where things actually started. So the gangs are not started in our communities, but it's perpetuated and it's made. Look, we always fit the image of what the after effect. So looking at the gang violence that's in our community right now, I think a big part of the gang violence is occurring because of financial. I don't even want to say financial. I'll say this. They always speak biblically, prophetically. They talk about these lost tribes. So we don't have any of these tribes' culture. We don't have any knowledge of inventions of what these tribes invented. So when you look at you not knowing your origins and being where you are, it's easy to say gangs and then point and look and say, we already called them black and they believe that. Like, you know, whether you look in the mirror, so it's like flash check, man. We have to really deal with gang violence in America. We have to go through culture and the fact that we don't have any land. I mean, because if you have land, now you have resources. So if you have the mind that knows what to do with those resources, now you have people that can actually look at this land and find this land financially responsible, find this land financially where it multiplies in the community. But if you don't have land and you don't have resources, then gangs are what you end up having when you live in a concrete jungle. When you live in a matrix of a society that somebody has created, and people don't have the necessities of things that they were born with in this world is free to everybody, then hell yeah, you create gangs because people are going to look for reasons to survive. Rob Peter, pay Paul. Yeah, so you know, you're gonna definitely find people to organize. We don't have a military to protect, we don't have anything of that nature. So yeah, there's gonna be a natural perception to subscribe to some type of organization to survive. And 9 out of 10, you have to be violent to survive. It's just the way this world is set up. It's set up. So if we're gonna tackle or really get into it, we got to know the origins of where it starts at. So there could be a good game that's created. Like there could be, you know what I'm saying. But we have to change the mentality. We got to change the mentality, man. It's just my perception on it right there.
Yeah, I agree.
That's dope right there. That was some real shit right there. Hey, boy, I couldn't have put it no better. Hey, real talk. Covered a wide range of things. Just in a short period of time, you just covered a wide range of things, bro. And that's definitely helpful insight, man, because, hey, man, we need it's stuff we need to do, but if we just keep talking about the effects and not the initial cause of it, we're not gonna get nowhere. You see the truth, but what you don't see is the roots under the tree. We just see the shit that's on the surface. And if we never catch what's actually perpetuating this shit, then we just gonna be, like I say, we're gonna be talking about this shit another 60 years. You hear me?
We will.
Another 60 years, because like I said, shit, they've been talking about this shit since the 60s. And I think we still falling for it because we won't take a stand to this white supremacist indoctrination. You hear me? So I think this is also a reflection of white supremacy in everybody's culture, even in the white culture.
Let's call that shit tan. Let's call that shit tan supremacy.
Tan supremacy.
Tan supremacy. I don't look at them and see white people, just like I don't look at us and see black people, bro. They didn't describe Jesus in the Bible as a black man. They described him of having skin of bronze that looked like it was put in a furnace. That is what I look at when I see you guys. You know what I'm saying? When I see y'all, we have to go back to being honest so we can come with some truths. The moment we can say, hey, okay, this is what they not white people. They tan, pinkish, call it whatever, but call it what you see. If we're gonna describe people as colors, let's pertain to them as what color they really are.
I can see through that perception, but just classifications.
Yeah.
Hey man, I understand what you said, but
because
everybody else world, you hear me? Everybody else world, that's what they call people, bro. Black people, they call it white people.
Man,
you know, we
but they get look at where they got us.
We've been along from coming what we really think, yo. We've been along from coming what we really think. What is two people?
They call us Negroes, blacks, African Americans, niggas.
Yeah.
You hear me?
They named
us. They named the horse a horse. Oklahoma wasn't Oklahoma in 1903. No, 1905 is Oklahoma now. You hear me? Texas what was Texas before the Republic of Texas? What was that before it was named that?
Man,
so the conquerors name everything because we conquered. We speak English, men. English is for Englishmen. So we whitewash every which way, form, or fashion. That's why they can sit up and describe us because we lost our culture. So they can tell us what the fuck we do. They controlling it. This is why my personal opinion, we can't get control of it until we get control of the economics because we watering everybody else's garden, and we, like I just say, use the hair. Billions of dollars could be coming to the African American community just with the hair. But we're not concerned about money because we're in a state of submission, praising. We at their footstool for us to rule because they have killed the spirit of independence. All these guys that everybody's talking about that's raising the level of the consciousness. Me personally, I don't see it. That's not to demonize anybody's religion. I just see the state of the people, not individually. That's the Minority Report. I'm talking about the masses living in ghettos across America, uneducated, systematically left out in housing, education, even the religious stories. Where's the black images? We left out in that. So we seeing them in the image of God, which is very detrimental to our health. That's the most detrimental part. More worse than the money is us seeing them in the image of God. Oh,
But in the religious doctrines, take note and say that we are definitely in all the religious doctrines. That's the biggest things. The Masonics will go talk behind the scenes, and bro, you all up and down in the religious doctrine. Moses, Christ, all of these people that they speaking about, bro, they look exactly like you. So it's not that we left out of the religious doctrines. It's once they go to the seminary schools, they're taught what to tell people to captivate their mind in church, so they can present offerings to them. Like, what you got, bro? I know he's finna speak to him.
I mean, my question is, I mean, well, actually, my response to that is, when it comes to religion, like he said, that's one of the oldest forms of gangs, because they break off in different denominations, like Baptists and Holiness and stuff like that. And in the beginning, these churches, they really was against, well, you guys are worshiping holler too much, or y'all should be quiet, y'all sing too much. You know what I mean? It was them. So it's an individual thing, but when it comes to the whole black, how can I say, environment or experience, if you put yourself in a situation where you're like you say, origin, if we don't allow ourselves the separate the difference between a person being a man as an individual, and teach your kids the independence of free thinking and how to form their own opinions, that ain't nothing but a gang of soldiers going to the army just like in the streets. Because anytime when somebody knows with information to be filled, you hear me? It's a whole lot of space to be filled with the bullshit. You hear me? I've spent 7 years in the penitentiary, hitting rec yards where older men commanding the attention to these young guys for the bullshit. This man been incarcerated for 20 years, you hear me? And when he went in, he was 18. Nothing that you talking to this man, the biggest lies, the experience, the best teacher, but the experiences that you talk to this man is all fictional, you hear me? So a lot of that shit I start myself pervert, you hear me? You hear me? Some shit you got to experience. Some shit you can't get word of mouth from, you hear me? And some mainly and some things when you have a group, the experience it won't be the same. You hear me? So your first encounter with a physical encounter with another person, as far as like a test of wit or a test of physical strength. Some things you got to do on your own. You hear me? And when you coveted by a gang or coveted by a group, into my individuality is harder. You don't be in a situation to shine as an individual. And that's like even being in the singing group. It be some people you can all sing the same song, but it's gonna be somebody in that group. Everybody's voice ain't gonna sound the same. Somebody gonna sound different. You hear me? But when you got nobody to tell you that you're different, and nobody tell you that there's so special about you, you ain't gonna never be able to sound the same. I was blessed to have somebody to tell me the difference between being a man, the difference between how you walk and how you talk, or whether or not he's standing on what he's saying, or the principles. So it goes back to origin. If you don't, whether or not you believe origin, or like a seed, you know what I mean? If you ain't got nobody watering you, if you ain't got nobody give you sunlight and nourishing you and shade you from weeds and shit, you're gonna grow up amongst the weeds, and eventually they're gonna choke you out, or you ain't gonna be able to be determined whether or not you're a plant or a weed.
It's gonna suffocate the life. And that's the ghetto. That's the explanation of the ghetto. In not all cases, bro. The ghetto gets demonized. It's hardworking people that live peacefully in the ghetto. Don't fuck with. That's not all. That's not the whole story. It's a small percentage, but it gets demonized. You would think that's all that go on in the motherfucking ghetto. You hear me? As much as we hear that black on black crime, black on black crime, black on black crime, black on. Goddamn, motherfucker. Who got killed? Come on, man. It's happening, but in everybody's culture, not only ours. It just gets demonized in closing, man. So like I say, my personal opinion is we can't curb the gang violence because we never controlled it. You hear me? This is coming up from the higher ups. We got lack of accessibility to everything. So the motherfucker controlling the bag of the money, that's who controlling the narrative. And we spend they faces on the money. You see the $100 bill, you see a white face on it. Was Benjamin Franklin? You see a Jesus, that's a white face, the image of God. You hear me? They controlling the religious indoctrination. They controlling the mind. They controlling everything we learn. That's my closing statement, man. Y'all tell me about it. Y'all tell me about
definitely.
it. I agree. The biggest thing that we are, no matter what, it's gonna take a group. Like you said, a tribe is gonna take a tribe. No matter how much we try, and everybody tries, the message to be individuals when it comes to collective progress. That's only the key word is collective. Ain't nothing gonna happen. Everybody that puts the line, that put this in a situation that they created karma's personal. When they had a situation where they made it, they feel like they didn't owe nobody because they people that had to shooting in the gym. But when you start from the ground floor and people actually put in on these things and actually everybody do their work, you hear me? The outcome is beautiful. You know, I watch different type of programs, like for instance, probably be odd, but I was watching this barbecue program. You hear me? World's Greatest Barbecue, and it was in Texas. They got this award they give the best barbecue every 4 years. If you win this award, you hold this award for 4 years. You hear me? And this place in Texas is 5 guys. You hear me? It's like 2 black guys. It's a Korean, a white. These guys all grew up together. You hear me? And the moral of the story is, whatever they talk about how they all was working for different people, and like, yo, fuck that. We all know how to do this. You know how to do that. I know how to do this. You know how to do this. Let's all do this. You hear me? But the whole ingenuity, what I'm saying, if we as a race can put that together, the way they put together, you see this program, each person knew what they brought to the table. You hear me? And each one, like each person had their own little individual interview, and they talked about each person's job, how significant it was, how much he played a part in this. You hear me? And whether it be for the cameras or whatever, the chemistry them guys had towards what they wanted with that business and how they actually homegrown, and it made it to the impact for us. If someone can put the situation where he do this, I know how to do this, but nobody do this like he do this. You hear me? So, and he don't mind showing him how to do this, but we gonna always let him know that he did this because he showed us. And he talked about that, about the bread pudding and from making the fire and everything else. You hear me? If we get to the point where we go back to the man that's making that fire, you hear me? And show him how much we appreciate that, you will be surprised how many people we want to show how to make fire. On and on. The each one teach one process. As much as we talk, we done lost that. We done lost. Niggas don't want to work on cars no more. I remember when your homeboy can man, that's what's the name? My daddy showed me that. Ain't no daddy teaching no kids how to get in the hood no more. Ain't nobody teaching nobody how to people expecting their kids to go to basketball league without they getting out with that ball no more. You hear me? He gonna be a basketball player. You ain't gonna show him how to do it. You gonna put the football in his hand. None of that no more. It's a given now. You hear me? And it's fucked up.
That's right.
Damn, so right. Yeah, man. Hey, bro. I'm gonna start my closing statement off by first saying I appreciate you two, bro, man. Y'all held it down, and y'all definitely an example of what we got to do. We got to practice more of this than competition, more uplifting each other versus competing with each other. And the truth was written in stone, and stone prior to be written on paper. The stone they call hieroglyphs or holy glyphs, holy symbols written on stone. So in his closing statement, I'm gonna start there. That we started from writing holy glyphs on stones to later on being called Cherokees, Apaches, all these different things. We called, but then they say it's Indian because India is on the other side of Asia somewhere. So they want to call these people Indians. Through all of the mixing around the puzzle pieces, when you scramble puzzle pieces around so a motherfucker can never figure out how to put that puzzle back together, in the midst of that, knowing that we went through civil rights fights, we went to Black Panthers. The Black Panthers now trickled down to what you consider the Bloods or the Crips after they put the drugs, money, in guns in the community, the Black Panthers had to start sectioning off because a lot of them became drug users or drug dealers, however people perceive it or call it, they sell. So during the trickling down and the mixing down of all these puzzles and all these things that's happening, us brothers have still aligned and find ourselves somewhere looking for the truth, like looking for that it factor, that where it is. So now we see what the young people are caught in what they're calling gangs. You know, I will say these are our youth and the people ahead of us. They got too complacent. They let Malcolm die by himself. They let these people die alone. And now when we see our prophets come up, we will rather kill our prophets because we say, I don't give a fuck. He got more money than I got. Or the prophet is holding money on his face, stunting and shitting on the other niggas that look like him. Like, this is the mentality we got here. So this is the creation, you know, of gangs. You know, in closing, that's what we got to do better. You know what I'm saying? In closing there.
I agree.
Hey, man.
I agree.
Hey, man. Hey, man. I appreciate y'all pulling up. Y'all could have been anywhere else, but y'all here fucking with us. Peace to the guys and goddesses. One love.
God bless.